Okay, so we're on to match 2 now. We're currently 1-0, having taken round 1 2-0. We get the draw, we get the play. And this hand's fantastic. This has a Gitaxian probe to see what's up on the other side. We have a Dark Ritual as acceleration. We have another Redraw and a Street Wraith. We have a Flusterstorm. We have Gush. This hand looks like it is able to go places, possibly fairly quickly. And we find our opponent is playing what most likely appears to be the Mirror. Just given the Underground Sea and the days, that kind of tells us that Doomsday is the most likely deck. And so we will ignore the Gitaxian probe. We don't particularly want to fight over it. It's annoying that they're going to get to see a hand, but they're going to get to see a hand that's pretty stacked. Their hand's alright as well. They've got a couple of Preordains, which is going to make for nice filtering. We're not going to fight over the Preordains, not with a Flusterstorm. I think we want to hold that for Doomsday. Or if we're... It's possible they'll find a Necro. If they find a Necro, the Flusterstorm's not going to be amazing, but, you know, can't play around absolutely everything. And them playing out the Lotus is a little unnerving. Okay, and we'll just... I think we just want to jam out. So we're just going to jam out Doomsday here, and we can Doomsday with Flusterstorm backup. And if they fight over this, so we'll pay for a daze. And if this is a Flusterstorm, we're just going to let it go. Okay, Ancestral. That can't be good for us. Flusterstorm's fine. So them having the Ancestral there is a little bit unfortunate for us. Because I think now we're okay. They've set themselves back their land drop, so we're ahead on mana. We have a dig active fairly soon, so that will be good. We still have Gush and Preordain, so we've still got a fair bit going on. And Island's nice. We probably don't want the Dark Ritual. And I think we might just want to dig on their upkeep. Although it might also be that we just want to continue to hold up Flusterstorm. I can see a rationale for both. So holding up Flusterstorm is both a defensive play and an offensive play, in that it's going to let us push through our dig through time. While also... with the polluted delta. Yeah, okay. So I can see this. We will Flusterstorm Doomsday. they knew about the fluster, so I don't know if this is like them desperately trying to push through a known counterspell in our hand, and they're just going to go like land Doomsday next turn and go off, or whether or not something else is going on and maybe they just made an error. Either way, with dig through time in hand, I guess the other thing that we can kind of do here, right, is we could Mystic Sanctuary into a Flusterstorm at the drop of a hat. So Vamp Tutor's fine. They're probably, I guess they're probably getting a Doomsday. If we have to think about what they get, I think a Doomsday is the most likely. But yeah, Mystic Sanctuary into Mystic Sanctuary putting Flusterstorm and then being able to gush into it in a pinch is pretty nice. Okay, an opponent's got a Force of Will. So we're taking a bit of a gamble here, and that we're going to know the top card of our library. And it's going to be a Doomsday. So Daze is a very nice pickup here. So that was a bit risky because like knowing that we're drawing the Doomsday reduces our chances of drawing like a Force of Will or something like that. But also means we're in a better position to actually go off if we can hold our opponent back another turn. So if they go like Ritual Doomsday, we're pretty boned. But if they just cast a Doomsday here off 3 lands, we just get to Daze and they're almost out of gas. Okay, so they're casting a Thassa's Oracle. And if so, they follow that up with your Consultation. And we're now getting way ahead. They might have a 1-3 in play, but they have 0 cards in hand. We have a Doomsday. We can remove the Thassa's Oracle if that's really necessary. Maybe we vamp here for... Maybe we just vamp for Lotus and cast Doomsday. I think it's not an unreasonable line. It's relatively aggressive. There's lots of things opponent could have in hand that could hurt us here. And so we're just going to do a fairly straightforward pile. It's what we should have done last time in game 1 of match 1, where we're going to draw Ancestral for turn. If Ancestral doesn't resolve, we pass the turn and we draw a Gush. And then if Gush doesn't resolve, we draw our Oracle. And we actually have ample time to do this. Opponent's got a 3-turn clock on us, so barring like Doomsday into Gush, we're actually looking really good. Nice thing about this is we can just play our land and play our Oracle. And if our opponent forced the Oracle here, then we would win next turn anyway. So opponent's probably going to scoop. Yep, okay, and we're going to go on to game 2. For anybody who's never played the Vintage Doomsday Mirror, it would be one of my main incentives to not actually register this deck. It is miserable. Very tense game, and I just don't like playing it very much. We also probably shouldn't have cut the Vamp Tutor. I think maybe a Street Wraith was a more appropriate cut. Or even a Chain of Vapor. Actually, Chain of Vapor would have been the card to cut here over the Vamp. So I don't normally like Vamp and Blue matchups, but here we want to go fast, and we want to be the more consistent. We want to be faster and more consistent where possible, and the extra tutor makes that happen. Even if it does put us down a card, if we can force enough of an exchange of resources at the correct time, a Vamp's going to be a pretty good card to draw. So opponents having a good think about what they want to sideboard. They probably have a slightly more complicated sideboard than us. Cool, and I picked up on my Chain of Vapor, and I don't quite get time to fix it. So this hand's super reactive. I guess if we top deck an Oracle, we'll probably win. So I can see arguments for keeping and mulliganing this. Opponent going to 5 means this is actually a great hand. Our game plan's realistically just to stop our opponent from doing anything interesting until we can draw into some action. So we're going to be trying to play control in this matchup, and our opponent being on a 5-card hand definitely makes that a much more viable strategy, as we're already 2 cards up. We're also insulated against, turn 1 Doomsday kills, which is the scariest thing in this matchup. They're surprisingly common in Vintage. So 1 black for Duress could be. I think we'd rather that was a Dark Ritual, but the Duress is gonna take something. Maybe the Force or the Daze, perhaps. Or maybe the Demonic Consultation makes sense, because that's our way of killing him. So it's kind of the most dangerous card, and he's probably willing to just try and play draw go and not let us use our cards. Might not pan out from here. We're like a land or a black source off killing him now, so. And I think we just let the Preordain go. The reason to let the Preordain go here is we actually just kind of want to. Maybe we could have flustered it, but I don't like that. Fluster might prove to be force pitch here, depending on what happens. If we're dazing it, we're card casting the daze. So, I mean, one of these cards is probably getting pitched to force. One of our blue cards here. And because we're not sure which one it is, I think we can afford not to fight over the Preordain. And we've got pretty good odds of just ripping a land off the top. Opponent finds their land number 2. We would daze another duress. Because that would be a possible problem for us. Force is not what we wanted to draw, but at least we know which card we're pitching to force at will now. And so opponent's got the requisite mana for Doomsday. And so now I guess we're going to kind of settle in and be a little bit patient. Opponent has to be the aggressor here. We didn't really want Dig Through Time either. Dig Through Time is not going to do anything unless opponent is willing to do something. So opponent looks to be fetching just for thinning. Just so they just want to kind of try and increase their chance of doing something broken. We're not going to fetch for that reason. I think we want to... Well, we're trying to maximize our chances of hitting a land at this point. So I guess now we're just going to go to end step, and I guess we want to pitch Dig Through Time. Maybe it was Daze. It might have actually been Daze that we wanted to pitch. But I also don't mind having another free counter spell up. So we're going to let their Gush go. So I think what we're really aiming to do here, right, so hopefully... Yeah, so Mindbreak Trap is now live if they want to fight over at peak for whatever reason. And we don't really want to let Cruise go. And so we just cash in our trap. So opponent's got land and 4 unknowns in hand. And they've exiled their Gush, which might have been greedy on their behalf. We'll go ahead and we'll peek. And we're going to use it to try and draw into a card that's going to let us cast our Doomsday. So Brainstorm Force, Dark Ritual Doomsday. Alright, well, we now have 2 cards of Force Pitch and a Flusterstorm. We haven't drawn particularly well this game. We've drawn a lot of bricks. Brainstorm's fine. So opponent has to be getting a little bit desperate by now. Like they know we can't be far off comboing. We didn't really want the second Oracle, so we're going to discard probably one of the Oracles. This just means if we get like Durest or something, and they take a Doomsday, we can afford to eat that, whereas, you know, we're not going to want to... We're probably never going to want to have both Oracles in hand. We're just going to recycle the other Oracle into our pile. And we'll just snap this off. So Dark Ritual Doomsday, I think, would have actually let them pay for the Flusterstorm there. So we kind of have to assume that they actually have a second Doomsday in hand. And this one was bait. It's not going to be amazing bait, because fundamentally we still have Force up. And we know they've got one Force and they Brainstorm lock themselves with one draw, so they have Force, Dark Ritual, 3 unknowns. Okay, and this is perfect. We're going to jam a Doomsday. Our first Doomsday can actually be our bait spell here, by the way. Alright, an opponent's casting Force of Will. So this looks like it might be a Flusterstorm. And we're totally okay with this being flustered. And so now opponent has Dark Ritual, and by the time we pass the turn it will be 2 unknowns. So Dark Ritual, 2 unknowns, so it needs to be... They need to have a Doomsday as well, and a piece of interaction. So the perfect draw for us here would be like Gush. And the worst thing for us would be if they've drawn their own days or something like that, and are able to go off. Which is a very real possibility. So they're going to put an Oracle into play. If they Oracle into Consult again, yep, okay, and so we can just force the Consult. Now we know they have Dark Ritual in hand. Right, and so I remember the previous turn I'd forced their force back is they'd kind of signalled the Flusterstorm by tapping and untapping the Mox Sapphire there. And by tapping and untapping the Sapphire, they were basically giving a pretty strong indicator that there was a Flusterstorm in hand, and so us pushing through makes a big difference. So here we're going to... This is an interesting one. So the Force of Negation's kind of nice here. So what do we want to draw? So if we do... Like, we only have one Oracle, so we need to make sure the Oracle counts. So this was not a correct pile. So I think with this pile, we actually want to go Ancestral Time Walk. Ancestral Time Walk seems correct. So that we can hold up Force of Negation when we cast our Oracle. And Doomsday's fine, so they got Dark Ritual in hand, Doomsday on the stack. So this is actually, it should just be GG here. We're going to be the first ones to draw into our pile. We know they don't have any interaction in hand, and we know that we have a deterministic win. So this is just purely desperation on their behalf. They're just kind of... They've drawn the Doomsday off the top. They need to try and kill us. They need to hope that we made a mistake and that they don't. So, I mean, look, nominally we have made a mistake, but the current Doomsday piles in this deck are... Look, if you can draw an Oracle and have mana to cast it, you'll probably win. Just because, like, if you've resolved your Doomsday already, you're already that far ahead. So here we get to see our opponent's deck. We should probably snapshot this just in case. There's always a chance we made a mistake and the Dark Ritual isn't in hand and they've somehow shuffled it away. We can see that there are no Force of Negations left. Are there 2 Force of Wills? So they have 2 Force of Wills, no Mental Misstep. An unknown number of Flusterstorms. And yeah, okay, so this line's great. This line lets us time walk, and if they do happen to have anything random, now it's 100%. So like a chain of vapor or something could even blow us out here. And now nothing they can play can. And that's match 2.